Hello everyone. Okay, so today we talk about the clean architecture. Clean architecture. Okay, which we also handle HLD LLD with basic code. Okay, so let's get started. So this video is mainly for learning and speaking purpose. So I will take everything clean and simple way. So first we start with what is clean architecture. Architecture. Okay, so clean architecture is the way to develop software, designing software so that this is a way to designing software. So that code is easy to maintain. First is so the code is easy to maintain, and second is business logic independent. Business logic is independent. Okay, and the third point is database or framework can change easily. Database and framework can change or add easily. Okay, that means the idea is business tools should not depend on external system. The key idea is business rules that should not depend on external system. Okay, and outer layer depends on inner layer. Depend on inner layer. Okay, so we talk about later in these topics in detail. But okay, so core layer, there is a core layer of architecture. Core layer, core layer of clean architecture. Architecture, arc, arch. Okay, so core layer is clean architecture. So clean architecture is have four main layer. They have four main layer. So first layer is entities. Second layer is use case. And third layer is interface adapter. And four is infrastructure. Infrastructure. Okay. Okay. So let's understand with example. Okay. So first we go through entities. Okay. So let's take example a simple order. Simple order system. So first we talk about the high level design. Okay. Okay. So in high level the system. Okay. So what is high level? High level is basically show overall structure. Okay. So system have first order API, and second is application layer, and third is the domain layer, okay, and fourth is database. Okay, and there is a flow. So flow, it's go first user, this connect to API, and this connect to application, and the application connect to domain, and domain come to database. Okay, that is a basic flow, and there is some rule. Rule say dependency always go inward. Dependencies always go inward. Okay, dependencies always go inward. And database does not contain business logic. And database does not contain a business logic. Okay. And business logic control database throughout interface. And the business logic control database throughout interfaces. Okay. This is a high level architecture, high level design. And let's come to the low level. Okay. Low level design. It just go in deeper. So the four entities we just expand it, like we go deeper. Okay, so now breakdown. Let's break down. Now let's break it down. Okay, so first is entity. This is domain layer. So let's come to order entry. So the order entity have some ID, name, quantity, and then price. Okay, and this layer control business rule. Business rule. Okay, so this layer have rely on business rules only. And second layer we talk about the use case. And the use case is also called application layer. Okay. So the use case is let's talk about the place order. Order use case. Okay, so inside what they can do, they can validate order. What application do validate? Validate order, calculate price, calculate total, and then save order. So this is the application layer. What happens? And then we come to interface layer. So interface layer is just to basically do collect request from HTTP. They have collect request. So what they have to do, controller request, controller receive, HTTP. Controller receive HTTP request. Okay, and call use case. Any application, that means application layer. And the fourth layer is infrastructure layer. Okay, so infrastructure layer just implements depend database logic. Okay, so these are just low level design, and let's go with the basic logic, basic code. Example, I will go with the .NET, basic .NET style. So first we talk about the domain layer. Inside the domain layer, we can write some code, we some write some domain layer. They have to control the business. So we create a model, public class order, and inside that have some properties. Public ID, they have get set property, and same have for name, same get set, and then have integer type of quantity, and then price double this one. Okay, same is get set. Okay, so there is also a method like get total. This is also useful. They have just written simply quantity multiply or price. Multiply. Okay. So this is a domain layer. This control businesses. And then let's come to a business layer. This is a domain layer. Let's go to business application layer. Okay, so inside application layer, we first create an interface. And these have some declaration. Publics, like say order. They take domain layer of okay. The return type void and status net. And after that we have to apply the application layer like business. We create a class, and what they have to do, they just use that interface. The interface have our high order repository. High order repository, and then we create an object of high order repository. Okay. Repository. And then we go with the constructor. And they accept the interface type. And that they have just assign it to that variable. this is interfaces. So after that we can use anything, whatever we want. And let's create some model for interfaces. Okay, so place order the accept some. I have a repository type and the pass. They have say execute order and they accept order type, and based on the orders they apply some validation rule. Like if is less than equal to 0, then they throw the error. No exception. They have say invalid order. Okay. Otherwise, they have just called application layer like repository.save order, and they have just accept the order type. Okay, so this is a application layer. This is the application layer where they communicate to HTTP request and they process it. And now we'll last talk about the infrastructure layer. Interface layer. Infrastructure layer. There is actual code implemented, actual business logic right there here. Some public class order repository. They implemented with high order repository. Okay. And what they have to do, they have just implement the rules filed. And they collect order type. And they process some database rule. And they just use like the order is saved. Okay, so these are some basic codes and rules and regulations, rules and technical laws. Okay, So let's talk about the why clean architecture is powerful. Okay, so there is some key point like this is easy to test, easy to change database, and then easy to move monolithic to microservice. There is easy to move to microservice. And the last part is business logic stay clean. Okay, so let's go through final throughout. So the clean architecture help build a software architecture arch arch architecture help us that is stable and maintainable. Stable and maintainable. That is stable, maintainable, and independent from framework. Okay. It forces business logic to first. That the basic idea of clean architecture. So that is basic of clean architecture. Arc. Arc architecture. So thank you. So let's just recap of everything. So let's talk about the clean architecture with also HLD, LLD, and basic C code. So clean architecture is a way to design software that it must be code is easy to maintain, business logic independent, database and framework can change or add easily. That means business should not depend on external system, and outer layer depends on inner layer. Okay. So core layer of clean architecture for main layer there is four layer: entities, use case, interface adapter, infrastructure. Let's understand with example. Like let's create a simple order system with high level design HLD. So over the HLD is basically responsible for overall structure. So the system have order API, application layer, domain layer, database. So flow goes with the user, API, application to domain to database. And there is some rule dependency always go inward, and database does not contain a business logic. Business logic control database throughout interfaces. Okay, so let's go deeper in low level design. So now it's break down it more. Like entity, domain layer. They have decided a business rules only. Like in order have ID, name, in quantities, price, etc. And then we go use case, like how we can use it, like place order, validate order, calculate, and save order. This is the action inside the application layer. And after we have interface layer, so the user sent a request to HTTP, and the controller received the HTTP request and call the use cases like validate order, calculate order, and so. And then we go for infrastructure layer. Infrastructure layer implement the database logic, like how can database be communicated, take backup, recovery, etc. Distributed system, and so on. So basic code example, we have just create a domain layer inside the business rules, like order have entity, quantity, etc. And then we go application layer. Application layer, we create the interface, so we can bound it everything. And then we have communication, like public class place order, private read only. They have implement with order repository, and we after constructor, and then we have used some method for execute order. They have just call domain layer. So they have called database layer. Inside they have infrastructure layer. They have called it. In infrastructure layer, they have auto implement order repository, and they have implemented order save order. They have just execute the database layer and console the title. So why clean architecture is powerful? They have easy to test, easy to change the database, easy to move monolithic to microservice, and business logic stay clean. So final throughout clean architecture helps software. Let's focus on logic first. So this is the basic and very forward. Thank you.